Welcome back, it's great to see so many of you. In this video we're going to do something a little bit different. I was thinking the other day that as digital photographers we take so many more images than we process and publish. Yet with tools like Lightroom, with a few simple adjustments, it's so easy to notch up images and create great images from images that would perhaps languish on our hard drives otherwise. So today we're going to do the 5-minute edit challenge. I'm going to take an image that's sitting on my hard drive at the moment that I took recently, and I'm going to see what I can achieve in 5 minutes. So hopefully it'll be interesting and quite fun. Let's take a look at the image. It's an image I took on my Z7 combined with the 2470 f4 Z series lens. It was taken at about 28.5mm, so it's quite a wide angle shot. It was taken at sunset. It was taken at 1/30th of a second at f4 and ISO 125. So let's see what we can do with this image in 5 minutes, and let's get started. Okay, so we're off. Let's create a duplicate and go into the develop module, and let's start with the transform. Let's get this lined up. Let's use a horizontal across the bridge, and then we got a few buildings, a few vertical lines that are slightly out of alignment here. Let's see what one does. No, I think that needs just adjusting there. Let's take a second vertical. That's better. That's got the buildings vertical across the skyline. Let's turn this into a 5x4, maybe use it on Instagram. So let's constrain the crop so it doesn't go outside of those areas at the bottom. I want to get a little bit of water, but not too much of the river at the bottom. The sky, I think there's some colour we can bring out there, so let's give that a go. Let's perhaps bring that in so the edges are right. Okay, that's looking good. Right, let's there's some planes there. There's always some planes on the skyline of London, so let's get rid of those because they just distract very slightly. I think there's some birds down here as well, so let's deal with those while we're dealing with the planes, otherwise they're going to come back to annoy me later. I think we've probably got time in 5 minutes to do those. There's one more down there. That's it. I think that'll do. Right, let's look at the basic settings here. Let's use auto to give us a baseline, see what Lightroom thinks is the right level. Shadows are looking good. Let's just bring the whites up a little bit, give it a little bit more punch, a little bit of clarity, perhaps a little bit more vibrance. It's beginning to look quite good. Let's begin to lift the image a bit. Let's bring the sky down a bit though, because I think the colours in the sky, to get those out, let's use a graduated filter there. Let's use a luminosity mask so we don't darken the skyline and the buildings too much. Let's make sure that the edits I'm going to make only affect the right areas. So let's bring the exposure of the sky down a bit to try and bring out some of the colours. Let's try clarity. As you'll see, the way I play with these slides, I really just play with them and see what the effect is. This is where sort of you move into the artistic part of photography rather than the science of taking the image. Let's bring out the saturation a little bit there. I want to bring out some of the colours in that sky, so it's a bit more like I was seeing it on the evening. It's beginning to look a bit more colourful, a bit more like I'm looking for. Okay, now we've brought that down. We want to bring the skyline out a bit. Let's use a radial filter there because that'll work quite nicely over the buildings on the skyline. Let's get it positioned. Let's make it slightly larger and invert it so we're affecting inside the filter. Well, that's a bit too far. That's a bit better. Let's play with the whites perhaps. There we go. Shadows. Let's bring those up. A bit more saturation as we've raised the exposure there. A little bit more sharpness, and I think that's good. Right, let's just put a little vignette on there just to bring the edges down. So again, it draws your eye in towards the skyline where I've just added that radial filter. Don't want to overdo it here. You can see on the thumbnail top left, you have a far bigger effect on a smaller image from something like a vignette. So you have to be a little bit careful. Still got a minute 15. Right. Okay, let's create another virtual copy. I think there's a second image in here. Really, I think probably a landscape one around the skyline and those clouds. So let's go for a 16:9 because I quite like that. I want to get the bridge on the third, so let's bring that in a bit down. That's it. That's beginning to look good. I want to crop the bus on the bridge on the left, so that's looking quite good. Right, we've still got over half a minute left. We're doing quite well here, and that's quite a nice image. Let's just tweak the vignette a bit on this. Yeah, let's accentuate a bit more. Okay, that's a bit far. Let's bring the midpoint up a little bit. Bring it back from the edge. And perhaps we can just, because there's a lot of lines in this, maybe we can just tweak the sharpness a little bit in the details panel. Bring the sharpness up a touch. All very small adjustments. So there we go. So one image, 5 minutes, a few simple Lightroom adjustments, and I think we've taken that image from something that would have perhaps sat on my hard drive to something that I might well publish, perhaps put on Instagram. We've lifted those colours and brought out those vibrant colours in the sky and the buildings around that area of London. And we've created an image that has a bit more impact. If we compare it to the original, it's clear to see that we've adjusted the lines to get them straight. We've adjusted the crop and created an image with certainly more impact than the original. In the 5 minutes, we also created not just one image, but we created 2 crops from that single image. So let me know which of the crops you prefer. Do you prefer the landscape or the portrait? Leave your comments below. If you've got a little bit of spare time this weekend, perhaps set up your own 5-minute editing challenge. Let us know how you get on. Share your images. It'd be great to see. It's been great to see you today, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video.